Path to destinies. Musíme se podívat, jak to máme vlastně otevřený nebo nemáme. Že co víme? Když zachráníme Lupína, bla bla bla. Jo. To je, víme, že králík je nepřítel. Find the Armature, find the Zenobia, attack the outpost, jasný. Ty obětujou. A Sky Rover, find the Armature, find the core, meet the scientists. A jo, a tohle zničí vesmír, jasný. No, tak to zkusíme udělat nějak. Jelikož už si pořádně nepamatuju.
It was time to choose. The rebellion was in trouble. Ravens were scouting for the secret rebel base. They needed a game changer. Pieces of the Sky Ripper had surfaced. Renata knew that using it could go catastrophically wrong. But he was sure he could figure out how to use it safely. Also, a temple had risen out of empty desert. The Emperor had brought the Sky Ripper pieces up out of ancient burial by his obscene rituals. Could this be where the Iblis Stone was hidden? Someone better get it before he does, thought Renato. And also, his old friend Lapino needed rescuing. Of course, Renato had a pretty strong suspicion that Lapino had betrayed the rebellion. But could Renato really leave an old friend to the Ravens?
Takže Lupinovi už nepomáháme, tohle jsme našli, zničili jsme zemi, nebo vesmír, takže do chrámu.
The island was windswept desert. No one went there except ostriches and ostrich hunters. The Iblis Stone. It sounded ominous. It sounded powerful. If the Emperor was searching for it, it must be dangerous. And so, Bernardo went ostrich hunting.
Takže jdem najít nějaký mocný kámen, co zastaví žabákovského imperátora. Asi teda těžko na první průchod. A jdeme lovit pštrosí. A nějaký pštrosáčata. Vidíme, no. Ono nám to samozřejmě jako vždycky dá možnost se přeskakovat s těma příběhama a nosky. S tím, že na konci opět určitě umřeme a půjdeme od začátku. Jako už několikrát. Nesavuj, loaduj. Si já se ještě bez pamatuju, jak se to hraje.
But ancient codices held hints of other things. A stone that ate souls. A ruby that drank blood. A jewel only a righteous man could give away. Were all these things the Iblis Stone? Long hidden in the buried temple? Another ancient item that was only resurfacing now? Drawn up from the deeps by the Emperor's horrific rituals?
Ještě bych já si pamatoval, jak se to hraje. Tak, na to přijdem.
Pointy? Check. Flexible? Check. What else do you need in a sword?
Meč už máme skoro vylepšený, to si nějak tak pamatuju. A podíváme se. Máme na maximum. Tady nemám esence, tady nemám rudu a nemám rudlu. Mám jako lepší. Jenom level 1, jo. Tohle můžu mít. Rezistenci a tenhle nemám. A nic. Tak jdem to vyzkoušet.
The air here tasted bitter. The steps were too tall for a person. The entire place felt restless, like it had been vexed to nightmare under the dust, waiting for its hour to come around at last.
Dobrá. A pojďte. ono se to blokovalo, tyjo. Takhle ne. Jsem koukal, jak bylo pary. Momentík, tyjo, já si už nepamatuju. Controls. Jo, jasný. Dáš. Hookshot, jasný. Switchword, jasný. Moment, tady bude pary. Oh. A nebo nebylo? Já už nevím. Hej, sešky, znova lépe.
Well, they felt bad for littering, but these islands were short on trash cans.
Sípni. Sípni ráno, sípni, dobrý.
The ravens were already here, cawing in frustration. They were still searching for a way in.
Tak jdeme.
Then he hadn't come too late.
Potřebuji zdraví, anebo nabít meč. Tak ani jedno. Máme něco? Ani ne. Máme skill pointy, máme smůlu. No skill. No upgrade. A je. Pojďte. Hej. Ne.
Hope it's not
Tak znova. Je to nejde. Aj. No, konečně, díky bohu. Máme novej bugík? Máme. No jo, ale už nemáme. A tak enemies at any distance, auto activate when the combo threshold. Ale jo, se necháme. Jsou léčící. No, ale fakt nemáme energii. Tady nikde nic. Zase brzo umřem.
Once, he found a Superman issue #1 in mint condition in a jar he'd broken. He planned to keep breaking things until he had the whole series.
Nechci tohle, abych potřeboval nějaký živutky. A tak. Už máme všechny meče, takže otevřeme všechny tajné dveře. Ještě základ. No, aspoň 10 života dobrých. find the stone. Bla bla bla. Bla bla bla. Bla bla bla. Budeme tomu svědku věřit.
A road less traveled. This could be fun. If it wasn't fatal, that is.
Aha. Ústup. Tudy má. A jdeme dál. A zase žádný zdraví. Achy jo. Hej. Já vždycky to nože vybouchnou. Achy jo. Tak znova. A pojďte. Já jsem pomalej, to je hrozný. To musím dostat do ruky, hold, no. Vypadí. Zase jsem vyboužil, jo. Dobrý. Hotovo? Jo. Super, jedem dál.
This thing really needed a roof.
Co teď? Co teď? Co teď? Co nám tady bouchá? Aha. Jo, to bylo na jedna rána konec, jo. Díky.
Should have died a pirate.
A budu to dělat, a budu to dělat, a budu to dělat. Furt dokola, furt dokola, furt dokola. Konečně, ty. No. Sport to není ono, ale už pomalu dostávám ten rytmus, který od sebe očekávám. Nebo nenechat se sekat základňákama. Čup.
What could he craft with the materials he had? Renato had a pretty good idea, actually.
Physical resistance. Ne. Aj. A ještě můžu mít meč vylepšit. A jo? Zupa. Ale asi stejně tenhle.
Renato was running out of ideas. Zenobia loved him to death. The Sky Ripper destroyed everything. And Lapino was a filthy traitor. Using a stone named for an evil god seemed, unwise. But what else was there?
No, Lupino neví. Není si jistý. Tak. Fialovej, podíváme se, co je tady.
There was a pleasant breeze coming through that door. Had it been closed before?
Nebo je fight? Nebo jenom... Bude tady fight. máš to. Ha. Truhlička.
You could sense the jewel's power. He had a feeling they were gonna be great friends.
Se podívám až tam text. Podle mě... A nepůjdu zpátky kvůli tomu. A ten critical chance free. Ten nejlepší právě na téhle hře, že člověk když pak postupně získává všechny ty meče a může si znova otevřít tu trasu, kterou předtím nemohl. Třeba tohle si neotevřu tak ani tak. Nebo jsem spíš neminul nějaký dveře. Že ty mapy jsou furt dokola stejný, ale otvírá se mu víc a víc šancí kudy kam jít. Tak kucí. Ne, ty máš umřít. Vlastně tady se... Jasně, tady kryt nebyl, tady se kryje tím, že člověk se útočí na ně.
Renato told the corpses. It was something he'd seen in a play once.
Pojď, weep. Honem. A honem. Otevřeme bránu.
The Ravens at least could not get past this point. Obviously the temple builders knew how to deal with Tomb Raiders.
Tak se nám hodí ruda, tak jsem si vylepšil ohnívý meč naplno, takže ruda se vždycky hodí.
There was an inscription. Praised the sun.
Praise the sun, dobrá. Tak, to nám taky pomůže.
What else could you hook?
A tady by měl být souboj nebo finále. Je tu šutrák. Takže konec mapy.
Of the purest blackness. It reflected no light, like a void made solid. Nervous, he picked it up. Who said that?
Kámen.
It was the stone. Eager, thirsty.
Nikdy nezabiju liškičku. Nebo teda kučičku.
That seemed tempting and terribly wrong. Zenobia was the Emperor's greatest general and a potent witch. But they had been close once, and Renato wasn't sure he really wanted to be Emperor. Why not capture the core of Sky Ripper instead? It was the eye of a lost god torn out by the transcendent Emperor to power his greatest weapon. It's the core. Said the stone anxiously.
No já nevím, takhle tohle vypadá špatně, ale my se nechce zabíjet.
The stone bothered him. He hated being told what to do. Wasn't that why he joined the rebellion? Wasn't that why he'd refused to be a soldier?
Přesně
He'd
tak.
agreed to come on board only if he could freelance. The stone felt a bit clingy. The sage Calaveras had told him where to find the Sky Ripper, a weapon capable of challenging the gods. Even without its armature, the core would still possess great power. He would go there.
OK, takže tam už jsme taky nějak tak byli, nebyli. Zase se vracíme k tomu kóru, který jsem minule použil a zničil jsem vesmír. Naštěstí on mi to potom, myslím, říká, když už tam ta No, možnost je po druhý. Že ano, tady už jsme to zkoušeli.
The moment he landed the Farfarer, Renato had a rare feeling of regret. It's not too late, he thought. He could turn around and sail for Zenobia's island. He frowned. Wait a minute. He didn't want to kill Zenobia, did he?
Ne.
Sure, technically she was the enemy, but they'd been at Sword Food School together. They'd never been lovers, but somehow they'd been closer. She'd told him every secret about herself. Except the biggest one. That she was the Emperor's daughter. No. Kill her.
Nezabijuj.
Whispered the stone. Before it's too late.
A nezabiju. Jako mohl bych, ale nikomu mi to nepomůže. No, možná to pak. Ale asi ne. Se ruší kombo, hajzlíci.
That guns beautifully. Where was a bard when you needed one?
Když jsem teda rozhodně nebyl, tady jsou ještě nevybraný truhličky, že to je jiným vchodem. Tady pak, tady ta, pojď bráno. O vás to jde, hoši. Moc pěkný kombíčko, tohle se mi povedlo. Tak jsem spokojený. Nahoru, že jo? Jo, myslím, že jo. O, můžu rozbít kamení? Bude krystalky. OK, to je co jsem chtěl. Doléčit se. Kudy tudy? Kudy tudy? Tudy. Ohniváka.
Renato wondered idly if people who had built these poles had really long tentacles.
Jsem si vůbec nevšiml, že tam jsou.
Almost never saw wild gogglers together like this. The toads had to train them not to peck each other to death. So these were to be imperial gogglers. That meant ravens were up ahead.
Tak vytah. Co nevím, kam mě veze, ale to brzy zjistíme. Au, dělám chyby, soustředím se na špatný. No, nakonec dobrý. Uf. Tak jsem si naběh blbě, no.
I wonder what happens if I go that way.
Teleporter. Oj. Jsou. No jo, teď to jsou smrťáci. Já jsem si nejdřív nevšiml, bohužel. Aha, takže tudy by to možná je
The stone hadn't
optikocesta.
lied about what it could do for him. With each raven he cut down, he felt a jolt of power flowing into his arm. You're weak, whispered the stone. The core will kill you. Are you afraid of it? Don't be ridiculous. It chuckled. But it's unstable. It will poison you so much as carry it. And if you try to use it, it will explode catastrophically. Renardo did not trust rocks that talked in his head. He went onwards.
Aha, tak už jsem šel. Takže úplně zbytečně, jo, super. Rozbíj kámen. OK, zase tady máme rozcestí, takže několik možných cest. Podíváme se, co je zde. Nic. Co mi na to řeknete? Nic. Tady taky nic. Ale můžu tudy. Aha.
Where did that go to?
Musíme začít soustředit zase, jo. Tomu moc neříkám se soustředit teda. Jsou hrozný výkony. Aspoň, že mám nějakou energii. A jdeme tudy už třeba. Uvidíme. Máme správný meč v ruce, máme.
Of course there was a puzzle.
Jasně,
You
že
couldn't expect the transcendent emperor to bury a god's eye in a leather sack where anyone could pick it up.
Ha. A to si vím, že mi tohle nedalo zabrat, protože já jsem tak blbej, že by mi to ani nepřekvapovalo. Hořím? Asi jo, ale prošel jsem. Takže pokračujeme dál. Je. Nás... Může tak, jo. A i toho jsem přehlíd. No, a ještě dole jeden. Dobré. Super. Že by konec mapy, to by tak odpovídalo časově. Jo.
As he approached the core, the stone became hysterical.
Já vím.
He had a sudden vision of plunging his gauntlet into the core and dying in anguish. That wasn't his vision, was it? The stone had sent him its darkest fears, hadn't it? He had a sudden impulse to do exactly that. He raised his right fist and plunged it into the core. There was a rush of light. He thought he could hear the stone screaming. And then he passed out. When another came to, the core was gone. But the Iblis stone was no longer black, but glowing with a blue light. And it was silent. I can't hear you, he sang out. And you? It didn't answer.
No, výborně.
He said. He had defeated the demonic gem with the power of his mind. He felt invincible. It
To
was
se taky
time to
ne.
attack the Imperial outpost on the Nexus. Take the battle to the enemy. But
Nebo?
among the huge crystals, there was also an observatory. A wise man would probably ask the scientists exactly what he had first.
No, minule nepomohli, ne?
How wise was he?
Možná nějak to... Tak, zkusíme zničit
As
to.
the Farfarer sailed towards the Nexus, Bernardo wondered if the core had been created to silence the stone, or even to feed its hunger. Well, honestly,
Uvidíme.
he didn't care. He felt terrific, and he appreciated the quiet inside his head.
Když se ukáže. Jestli to byla správná volba nebo ne.
The Nexus was infested with ravens, but that didn't bother Renato. With each death, the converted Iblis stone in his gauntlets glowed brighter, and he felt stronger.
Aha.
Wow. He was getting a bit bloodthirsty, wasn't he?
Well, he wasn't worried. He was a warrior. They're supposed to be bloodthirsty.
Přesně tak.
Renato felt surprisingly unwounded.
A musíme najít nějakou sochu teda. Máme nové levelo. Moment, a myslím, že mám mít... No mám mít tady
Renato
dobře.
wondered if his future self had commissioned these poles.
Co tady máme dál? Lepší kombo. A nebo statistiky. Ale jo, zrychlíme se.
What's behind door number 2?
Něco tady je? Ne. A jdeme dál. Pokračujem. Ve 4. různém příběhu, který by snad už měl pak odemknout pravdu konečně. Uvidíme. Ale supporté, ty mě štveš. Ne. Všichni, jo, super. A kudy tudy? Tak, třeba tudy. To je víceméně jedno. Uvidíme. Tudy jsem přišel, ne? Nebo ne? Já už nevím. Jo, no dobrý, takže jsem se zamotal sám v sobě. Zupa. Počkej, jsem si dal to rychlejší běhání. Takže tudy.
This chest smelled kind
Super.
of
funky. He hoped he didn't get it in his clothes.
Ne. Tady se určitě dobrý teleport. Jsem slepej. Samozřejmě na skině to
The
mám.
core, absorbed in the stone, was doing its job perfectly. Bernardo could feel a little eldritch jolt every time he downed a raven, but then it flowed into the glowing stone the way water flows down a riverbed. It all felt perfectly natural, as if all his life, this was what he had been meant to do.
Jo, takže ten kámen, i když zmlknul, tak není tak bezpečný.
Would he be rescued by an emergency platform?
Radši to nebudem zkoušet, Reynaldo. Shieldbreaker, má tam něco na třetím? Ne, ten už mám. Ten už mám píchle někde. No a ty spely mi zase tak ne to. Ale se mi líbí. Já tam, aha. Už vidím, ale že mě nerozbudím tak ty štíty tentokrát. Au. Chyť ho. Ale kde? Stačí, jo. Tak jsem udělal blbost s tou runou, že jsem vyhodil tu na štíty. Zpět a znova, tyjo. Já se musím vrátit tu runu na to zničení štítu. Ne. To jinak vůbec nemá šanci. No, to už je hnedka lepší.
Renato tore through the last remaining guards at the outpost like hot coffee through snow. There was a far speaker toad here. He called the council speaker. He knew she would be thrilled. And she was. She wanted him to come back to base. They had plans to discuss and a medal to give him. A large golden medal. Great, said Renato. Let's talk about who else I can kill.
Dobra.
Then the far speaker croaked again. Hello, Renato, it said. If you get sick of slaughtering second-rate birds in the Nexus, I'm waiting for you in the mountains.
Zenobia. She missed him.
No, tam už nemůžu, tam už jsem byl.
Once she saw how awesome.
Nebo můžu, ale nevím, jestli to nebude úplně to samý.
They'd kiss and well, if she did refuse for some reason, he was no match for him now.
Ne, tam nejdu. Jelikož to je tohle, myslím, ne. Jo. Takže to nebudu. Jdem do base.
Was taunting him. No doubt she hoped to lure him into a trap. Well, he was nobody's sucker. Especially not hers. He carried victory in his gauntlet. He would go where the council pointed him.
Uvidíme, jaká další pravda se z tohle no, že ten kámen je prokletej, no, ale Tak schválně. Na konci určitě se umřu.
Renato felt energized, like when he was hunting or dancing. Then he smelt it. The stench of ravens.
It was a good thing he was here too, before they tripped over the secret base. He was really saving the Council Toad's bacon, so to speak.
Jdeme vyzkoušet. Tuhle mapu jsem snad ještě ani neviděl.
Definitely easier to fight inanimate objects.
Tak jo, tak kde jste nějaký, když už mám ten šílený gauntlet, co to je? No, na zápěstí věc, která nasává, posiluje mě, když zabijím, tak bych byl rád, aby ten někdo aspoň byl.
This would be the perfect place for a tic-tac-toe board.
Okay. Tak jdeme dál. Ne, ambulance. S tím ostatní nic neudělám. A, ty kluci. Pojďte. Easy. Jenom 2.
A chest that shiny deserved to be opened.
Tak to je jasný, že jo? To mi tam naskakují teďka ty trofeje, jedna za druhou. Jdeme dál, šup. Ale. A hop sem.
The new pathway made Renato curious.
Taky jsem zvědavej. Nejenom Ronaldo. A Magič? Jo. Hlavně, že to vím, jo. Naběhnu do něj. No, ten ATK si to vyndávat. Udávat nebudu, ale... Je tady už asi niče. Teď jsem tady jsem taká byl, jasný. Takže zpátky. Zkusíme to, kam je veme tahle. Plošina 1. Já vím, že mám nový ty, ale... Ohnivý meč. Podíváme se. A další. Další truhlíč, super.
There was blood on this one.
Shieldbreaker 3, super.
So it hadn't saved its owner.
To bych tam měl dostat automaticky. Jo. A teďka dolů asi jo. Už jsou na prští ty, co? Jo. Máte to kucí.
See? Renato was a hero of the revolution. He deserved a medal. Soon, he deserved every medal they had, and hopefully one big medal ceremony in front of everybody with trumpets, so everyone could know what he'd accomplished.
Ne, tak tady jsem byl.
These things could really use a hand.
to pamatuju, tady jsem rozhodně byl. Au. Uzdravit. Mě tak baví porcovat ty oči tady. Beholdeři.
The long stairs. So he was close to the rebel base. Nothing was on fire. So far, so good.
Někdo? Ne. Super. Ale co pak? Jo, já tam půjdu dát, já tam mám ještě jednu tu nějakou bedničku. Pojďka určitě umřu. Jako vždy. Tak jeden legiák.
That is a very cool sword, thought Renato. No, seriously. He couldn't feel his paw anymore.
Pokračování, šup. A, no tak speed trojka. Už tam taky podle mě nemám. Přemýšlím, jestli to nepoužít z toho kritikálu. Ne. Asi ne. Co pak to je za... Jo, tajný průchod.
Inside the rebel base, Renato was invited to the council speaker's private chambers.
Hypnožába.
So, this is the Iblis stone? He said. I can feel its power. Renato told her how he had fed the core to the stone and made something even more useful than either. Crazy like a fox, she croaked. And Renato chuckled as if he'd never heard the joke before. We've given you the best quarters and a bottle of Tantalonian firewater. All for you. So they'd remembered. He woke in the morning with the sweetest of hangovers. But the Iblis stone was gone from his gauntlet. The corridors were empty, except for a few rebels who looked just as hungover as him. Come on, you'll miss the battle, they yelled. Renato added sail as the Farfarers scudded across the sky. Who could have taken the Iblis stone? Was it some Imperial spy? He would find him and kill him and take the stone back.
OK. Takže to je bitva, to je vždycky poslední část. Jdeme na to.
Renato had a bad taste in his mouth. He was killing ravens, but it wasn't fun. It felt like a chore. Oh, Renato hated chores. As a fox kid, he'd gone hungry rather than clean his room. He still didn't clean his room, he just moved house every few years. Who had the Iblis stone anyway? Up ahead, he could hear screaming and croaking and cawing. But who was winning?
Uvidíme, kdo vyhrává. Uvidíme. Jdeme na to. Ach, klasický oběh.
The mysterious sword from the east made you so fast you could catch a fly with your chopsticks. If that's what you really wanted.
Ten zrychluje? Jo. Ten zrychluje, tak nějaká ta energie. Další rezistentní kámen. Mám skoro všechny, ne? Taxi. Taxi. Kde jste? Tam musí zeleňáka, ten je můj oblíbený. Taxi, no konečně, děkuju. Jak to?
Look down,
Děkuji.
he thought.
A nic není, a jdeme sem. Schválně kam je to foukne.
As she ran forward,
Nazar.
Bernardo noticed that some ravens were starting to ignore him, just running away.
Jak se
Where were they
nebojou?
running from? Some hero of the revolution? If some other so-called hero of the revolution had the stone and tried to take his victory and his medals, Bernardo was going to be seriously pissed off. He was the hero, not some other bozo.
Hop. Děkuji. Děkuji. Konečně nějaký odpor. Odpor je marný. Resistance is futile. Au. Hazard.
Bernardo smash.
Bernardo smash. Aha. Tak jsem dostal dobrý teda. Nátisk. Do pytle. Ach jo. A znova. Něco posiluj, bude ti to na nic.
Ravens didn't smell any
Dobrý.
better dead, Bernardo thought.
Dobrý. To už je skoro finish. Když teda blbec neběhá do gilových koulí. Na tvrďáka. Bude boj. Tady už je skoro konec celé kapitoly, ale... Jaký novinky. Pojďte. Aj. Ne, nechci bejt. Ježišmarja, děkuju. Ne, moje kombo. Tak pojď, pane velká žabo. Nebo já mám jít za panem velkým žabou? Tak jo.
Finally, Bernardo came to the Emperor's ship. Zenobia lay dead in front of it.
Ne.
The ship was a wreck. Ravens lay dead, sprawled everywhere. Bloody feathers spattered across the deck and the dock.
Zabili
Council
Zenobi.
speaker came out. She was waving a sword around like a flag. "Look at me, Reynardo!" she croaked. The Iblis stone on the sword was black as coal. "Now I will be Empress, and all shall tremble before me," she croaked. So the stone had her. It was in her brain, whining for blood. "I'm afraid I can't allow that," said Reynardo, and moved to fight her. Toads are not usually good with swords. Something about the footwork. And the council speaker was not even a warrior. She was always tripping over things, which was quite an impressive achievement when you're a toad. Yet somehow, she was pressing Reynardo backwards as he desperately tried to keep his sword away from his throat. "Look, why don't you keep the stone?" he asked. "You deserve it." "Blood and souls for Iblis," she wrote. "Blood and souls."
For the
She
blood
got on his
god.
guard with her sword. It was just the tip. But sometimes just the tip is enough. He could feel his soul being sucked into the stone. As he died, he felt embarrassed. more
Takže
than
opět
anything
smrt,
else.
takže přetočíme knížku. Blablabla.
Oh, damn it. He lost again. And died.
Again.
But there was burning Ubar behind him. He still had all his destinies ahead of him. But he'd learned another true thing. The Iblis stone was evil.
No to už víme.
It tried to corrupt anyone who used it.
No a co dál teda? Máme další. OK,
He
tak
knew enough now, he thought. All these truths tumbling around each other in his head. There must be a way to puzzle the pieces together. If he used everything he knew, he could discover a new path to destiny.
Aha, ale
Book's
to jedinou
pages
správnou.
fluttered to the beginning once again. Faster than before, and he fell. The clouds parted over the islands of
Ale tady
Boreas.
znáš.
It was time to choose. The rebellion was in trouble. Ravens were scouting for the secret rebel base. They needed a game changer. Pieces of the Sky Ripper had surfaced. Reynardo knew that using it could go catastrophically wrong. But he was sure he could figure out how
Okay.
to use it safely. Also, a temple had risen out of empty desert. The Iblis stone was hidden there. It was a dangerous artifact. It could corrupt its user into a bloodthirsty monster.
Ano.
Maybe he could find a way to use it. To take its power without
Jo,
surrendering
jasný.
to its
To
wickedness.
by šlo.
And also, his old friend Lapino needed rescuing. Of course, Reynardo had a pretty strong suspicion that Lapino had betrayed the rebellion. And he had a gut feeling that he needed to use that to his advantage.
Já zkusím teda. Tak já to zkusím. Kdo je? Don't think by Rescue Lapino, najít Zenobi, No, já to spíš zkusím. Tady přesto
Every
nějak.
child knew about the Sky Ripper. The Transcendent Emperor had buried its pieces deep. And then, this Emperor's horrific sacrifices had brought it back to the surface. Reynardo wasn't exactly sure how to use the legendary weapon. But surely, there must be some way to do it without provoking another catastrophe. Had he, somehow, summoned the long-lost components of the legendary weapon out of the deep places of the Earth? It was more than Reynardo could fathom. But if he could find a legendary weapon, he would use it.
Tak zkusíme to takhle, no. Ale zkusíme. Ale jo, ještě naprojdu jeden ten lens, než to na chvíli vypnu. To bude trvat méně než hodinu.
As he set foot on the island, Reynardo couldn't help feeling a bit curious. Was Lapino still waiting to be rescued? No. He was probably drinking champagne with the ravens.
Přesně tak.
Did
Ravens drink champagne. Did rabbits. Renato felt oddly thirsty, come to think of it. Why had he chosen the Sky Ripper?
Renardo never made plans that required constant vigilance. He was a hero. He didn't think too much. He just went with his gut and hoped it all worked out. The Sky Ripper was a long shot. He'd have to devote himself to it. No side journeys, no rescuing old friends. That was against his nature. Could he stick with it?
Musíme hlavně přijít na to, jak to jestli to půjde počít bez toho, abych vybuchnul vesmír.
Hey, a workbench. He could try out his new bling.
Šup, otevřít a jdem. A zdar, očička. Šup. Aj. Dobrý. No, ne úplně dobrý, ale ne úplně blbý.
As for the gate, well, he could take her or leave her. Sorry. It's best I do.
Take her or leave her. That.
For a moment, Renato wished that somebody had been watching. That had been his mistake before, thinking he could win a battle of wills with an ancient evil all by himself. He had to be cleverer than that. Or braver. Or something.
To vím, ale jako mi se to jakž takž podařilo. No. Vím, že jsem jakoby ovládl já ten kámen, díky tomu jsem mu narval.
Clever engineer named Elon Musk got his start making floating platforms. Not many people knew that.
Elon Muskart. Už ani moc ty truhly nepotřebuju, mám víceméně vylepšený úplně všechno. Jo, ježiš. Chyba. Šup. Kuci vás tady je. No, a ne, no je to tak není tak žlutý. Mám vás. Uj. Jedem. Dobrý. Nedobrý. Dobrý. Rychle, efektivně.
Smell any better when you're dead.
To byl dobrý for.
Renato chuckled. It was the same puzzle. He wished he had his friends here, so he could amaze them.
No jo. To fakt jenom probíhám. Šup. Ale jo. armatura, jupi.
There it was.
Sky Reaper.
Skyripper's armature. The stuff that dreams are made of.
Tak, já se musím podívat, kde už jsem byl a kde ne.
Was intricate. No one alive had the skill to make a thing like it. How was it part of a weapon at all? He'd have to ask a scientist.
A já jsem se už ptal, ne, scientista.
He'd get the second piece. Skyripper had a heart, a core that had come to rest on the next island. Well, there was another island he could reach. Zenobia had just invaded it with her father's Raven battalions. She must be encamped there still. But fighting Zenobia now, that made no sense at all. He'd already sacrificed one friend to get this armature, was it?
A nebo už jsem dělal oboje?
He didn't need to hurry to face her.
Já už nevím.
She would find him.
Find the armature, find Zenobia, attack the outpost, find... Ne, tak to už jsem dělal. Find the armature, find the armature, find the core. Aha! Že už jsem dvakrát dělal armaturu. Tak jsem blbej. A zkusíme najít Zenobii, ale...
Renato asked himself why he changed course to confront Zenobia.
Ale nebudeme útočit na outpost.
Sometimes he would just do things and he could never figure out why he'd done them. Usually, they worked out. After all, he was a hero.
Nebo pak zbyl a uvidíme.
The truth is, he wanted to see her, wasn't it? It had been a dozen years since Swordfu School. He'd followed every rumor about her, every scrap of news. Not that he still loved her. After all, she was his enemy. No, it was solely because know your enemy.
All right, maybe he should stop pretending. He knew exactly how she felt about him. But their love affair always ended with a tragic death. Unless... maybe he could find a way to dodge tragedy. Surely he could, couldn't he?
Tak jo, aktivní.
That had gone rather well, actually.
Aha, já jsem šel zbytečně víceméně. Tak to jo, tak zpátky a nahoru. Tudy asi nikudy, tak teď tudy. Nový level nemám. Tady nic novýho pro mě.
That's what they meant by a firewall. What unlocks a firewall?
Fireblade. A tak to bylo jenom pro truhlu. A člověk jiný neví. Treasure Hunter. Ten ještě nemám. To je tak kudy tudy? Že by tudy?
He couldn't do worse with Zenobia than he'd done with the core, could he?
Ani moc ne.
If only he had some way to break the ice. Or convince it he was a friend.
Asi takhle. A další. A case byl v očáku. Tak šup, další. Další rudla. Oj, 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 oj. Neviděn, neslyšen. Ja, ja. Ja.
You could go anywhere. Renato wasn't entirely sure how he was going to capture Zenobia. She'd be expecting him. And he didn't have Lapino to cook up a clever plan. Why was it again that he hadn't got the core? Maybe because the results tended to be disastrous.
Jo,
These
přesně
streets
tak.
were familiar. The Swordfu school was closed now, but he had been down that street 1,000 times. He knew
Boom.
that pub. He knew that alley. He knew the alley behind it much too well. No wonder Zenobia had chosen to invade this island herself.
Nezabijete mě, ještě ne. To už je konec kola. Nezabíjet zbytečně.
Renato slinked through Zenobia's ship, making no sound at
Jo,
all.
ona už tam je čeká, jasný.
Where were her guards? Finally, he reached her bedroom. She was curled up on her bed. Oh, he'd forgotten how beautiful she was. How sleek. How soft. He tapped her on the shoulder with his sword. She vanished. And he suddenly noticed he couldn't move except his mouth. In fact, soon he couldn't keep his mouth shut. He told Zenobia everything. Skyripper, the Iblistone, even where the secret rebel base was, until he was hoarse. It was some kind of truth spell. A talky truth spell. She called her father by Farspeaker Toad and filled His Majesty in. Why didn't he get the core? Croaked the Farspeaker in something like His Majesty's croak. Because I missed you, darling. Renato grinned. He doesn't even know why, frowned Zenobia. That makes no sense. It's a trap, shouted the Emperor. I'll meet you at the outpost, and I'll bring my interrogators. If Renato came face to face with the Emperor, maybe
To nebude
he would
fungovat.
assassinate him. But maybe it would be smarter,
Ano.
safer, to turn Zenobia against her father.
Tak to je Home the Emperor. No a to by mělo být nový, jestli to správně chápu. Jinak to bylo takhle. Find Zenobia at the outpost, jo. A to s vykřičníkem je nový.
What are you doing? Asked Zenobia. Did you ever wonder why the Emperor adopted you? He asked her. She shook her head. He told her. His Majesty wanted to bring the lost gods back. They could make him an eater of souls, an immortal. But to seal his bargain with them, he
Jasně.
needed a sacrifice. Someone who truly loved him. She was stunned. Furious. You're lying.
Ne, já
Your truth
nelžu.
spell? It's a trick. You can't prove that. Take me to the observatory, and I will.
Přesně tak. Tak dobrý, tak to je další, jakoby kudy jsem nešel. tímto krokem jsem našel, on to určitě se dopadne špatně, ale... ale máme pak další možnost odškrtlou, co ne. Ne.
What kind of proof could you possibly have? She said as they landed on the Nexus. Your father ritually sacrificed a village, and he left witnesses? The scientists resurrected one. Well, it's not really alive, but it can talk. A true witness. She frowned. The dead can't lie.
Přesně
Not that
tak.
they could. They just don't have any reason to. She nodded grimly. You go on ahead. I don't want the ravens to see me.
Dobře, dobře, dobře. Počkej, jo. Chtěl bych to další levelí.
Oh, they really ought to put a railing on this thing, he thought.
Trošku nějaký to zábradlí by nevadilo, no, ale... Nejdeme hledat tajný věci. Šup. Šup. Tam to spíš tak probíhat.
She caught up with him. Don't you think I'd know if my father wanted to invoke the lost gods? Would he tell you? No. Would you help him? No. I'd burn his books. Why'd he adopt a stray cat? You don't ask a thing like that. No. Not when there's no good answer, she said, her whiskers twitching.
Kudy? Tak třeba tudy. Tudy. Tak to bylo jenom k bedně. Takže nahoru. Nebo dolů. Je člověk nikdy neví. Vyléčit pomocí mého léčitelského meče. Děkuji.
Had a true witness to one of the Emperor's blasphemous rituals. The dead could be made to speak for a short while. Interestingly, they could not be made to lie. After all, what do they have to lose or gain by lying?
Ještě kousek.
If he was a weapons engineer, Renato would make the cannonballs go much faster. And fire randomly, obviously.
Dobrý. 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 Který elementálové. Tak už začínám být trošku zmatený a samozřejmě dostávám počuně. Tak to bylo jen tak quick rate. No je tady ještě jeden toky šahá. Uf. Jen tak. Tam takto je moc, tak se to blbě stíhá. Vedná.
Once, Bernardo had opened a chest, and a Jack in the Box jumped out. Jack in the Boxes, they gave them the Wiggins.
Kašpárek z krabičky. Jack in the box. Jo. Tady je to nějaký zdemolovaný. Energy, super. Okolk je pozoruje.
The observatory was a burning hulk. Dead scientists and black feathers everywhere. The ravens had burned the reanimated witness to cinders. Renato was stunned. There goes my proof. These were scientists, not rebels, Zenobia said, upset. Why would he do this? I don't know. Let's go to the fleet and ask him. Yes. I'll meet you on the mountains. There's something I have to get first. But could he afford to meet her in the mountains? He'd given the Empire the location of the secret rebel base. They would need rescuing.
Ne. No jo, ale tady to mám. Find Zenobia again, ale to je něco jiného, už jsem to rozdělil trošku jinak. Ari.
Why was he going to meet up with her? Wasn't it more important to rescue the rebel council from
Rebelové jsou magoři.
the attack? Why was he in this war anyway? Was it really to fight the good fight, or did he just want to see her again? One of these days, Renato thought, I should really figure out my motives before I pounce. Nah. Was it true? Was he on this adventure just to see Zenobia again? The Imperial heir was not an easy cat to see. Well, she'd ignored all his Kwanzaa gifts. And on the other paw, trying to get a date by joining a war against your intended was, let's say, pretty optimistic. But on the back paw, thought Renato, yes, it sounded exactly like him. Good, I'm so glad we had this little chat, he told himself. Alas, they had to bury him in a
Ach
bucket.
jo.
Actually, several buckets.
Sakrble, nedával jsem bacha.
Kill the fox! Caught the ravens. Nobody said they were original.
Do pytle, dobrý. Tak smrt pádem se nepočítá. Dobré vědět.
There was an engraving. Maximum capacity, 130 people.
Jdeme dál. Šup. škoda.
There were a lot of dead ravens along the side of the road. Someone had rampaged through here on a killing spree.
What had Zenobia gone to get? He had a chilling feeling it was the Iblis.
To snad ne.
Zenobia was level-headed. The stone would make anyone bloodthirsty. You could tell her style from the blade work on the dead bird.
Jsme asi o kousek dál. Jo. Stejně to vypadá nakonec, že nejlepší verze bude vzít Iblis Stone, vybít ho, ale nedávat ho koncilu. Ok. Tudy asi. Tudy ne. Tak to zkusíme tudy. S 5 životama, super. Dobře, už mám 13. Třeba nějaký životky. No, ani ne no. Jsem přesně věděl.
Wallabies, he thought. Why did it have to be wallabies?
Wallabies. No, tak už to bylo lepší. A stejně bych umřel. A s 13 životama.
Sometimes, Renato really hated inanimate objects.
Ale kdyby to strčila ruku do té, tak zničí tu armaturu a vyneguje ten kámen. Taky možnost.
Renato wondered what he should do when he found Zenobia. What could he do if she had the Iblis Stone?
A, tady je. Čau, holka. Má ho, no.
He reached the summit, expecting no one. But there she was, steaming, pacing.
I'm gonna kill him, she said. I'm gonna kill all his ravens, and then him, and then his family, and all the eggs and tadpoles. Then I'm gonna burn down their pond. Did you go and get the Iblis Stone? You see, all these ravens I killed. So much power.
Yeah. Great, Renato said.
You really want power from a demonic rock? You want the stone, don't you? Not really. Good. I'd rather not have to kill you. He told her he loved her. That he wouldn't let the Iblis Stone take her, even if he had to die for it. Well, he planned to tell her. Now didn't seem like the right time. She'd probably cool off in a bit. So he let her get in her ship and fly off.
He rushed back to the Farfarer and followed her, deep into the distance.
Zenobia's ship was just visible through the clouds
A
ahead.
asi tak to
How could
nedopadlo,
he
jak jsem
reason
myslel.
with her? But he had to. The rebels were down for the count. No wonder. He betrayed the location of their base and then he'd abandoned them. And if she became Empress while she was in the grip of the Iblastone, if she became Empress by murdering her father, she could still be a great Empress. But she could also be a nightmare.
Tak tohle proběhneme, to je rychlý.
Stop.
Zase umřem a pak uvidíme, no. Jak to půjde, či nepůjde.
There were more dead ravens along his path. Some of them wounded in the back. He knew she could have easily talked her way past them, or clouded the little tiny raven brains with a spell. She was going out of her way to kill everything in her path. This wasn't Zenobia. Not as he knew her.
The portal was heavily guarded. It must go someplace they really didn't want it to go.
Nebudeš kouzlit, prostě ne a ne a ne. Díky. Jako... To bylo, jsem se jí lék trošku.
Imagine getting a horse up in one of these things. He will be cursing a blue streak.
Spěchám, nezastavujeme, šoup, šoup, šoup. Next. Au, ale jako.
So, his beloved was possessed by the spirit of a demon. That's what it meant to be a hero. To brave the darkness in your loved one's cell.
Oh.
To have faith there was still good in her. To help her out of that darkness, no matter what the cost. But what? What could he do?
Nic
He'd
moc.
kill him if he tried to take the Iblastone from her.
Ano, bo stačilo by se dotkla ty armatury.
Could be the
Oh,
new
okay.
aerobics trait. Am I right?
OK, to už je skoro final. Ne, děkuju. No, trošku si sečky vyléčím, ale není zásadního. Teď na mě se skočí, viď? Ne. Už finále opět. Další smrt na obzoru. Tak, otevři se hlavo, ať tam můžu... Tak, říkal jsem fight jeden, jasný. Pojďte, 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 pojďte. Tak dobrý. Další smrt čeká, jupí.
At the end of the trail of raven corpses was Zenobia. Her father was frantically rigging a strange apparatus wrapped around a glowing core. "Don't do it!" he shouted. "You'll hate yourself in the morning. Stay back!" She screamed in a horrible voice he'd never heard before. It froze him in his tracks. The Emperor stared at him. "Run," he told the toad, "or hop." But he didn't manage to voice it, only think it. Zenobia stabbed her blade forward, and His Majesty fell dead. She began laughing hysterically. Or was she weeping? "Just walk away," she laughed at him. "I've no more use for you." There was something he needed to do, but he couldn't figure out what it was. So he did as he was told. As he walked away, he felt a chill in the world. The light in the sky seemed to dim. He didn't dare turn. He had a nagging feeling there was something he should have done just then. Something heroic. But he could not have taken the Iblis stone from her by force. And she would not have parted with it willingly. A cold wind blew from where she had been. But he still didn't dare turn. And then, an awful laughter filled the air. And all the torches and all the ships went out. And he realized what he should have done. But by then, it was too late to do anything. Again? But he already had all the secrets he needed. He was sure of that. He must have not used them the right way. What was the best, worst mistake he could make? Probably trusting that traitor Lapino.
OK. Kdy budeme věřit Lupínovi, ale až někdy příště. Končíme s tím, že máme další 2 příběhy. Hotový, víme co. A to je tak všechno. Takže díky zatím a naschle.
The clouds parted. Rebel base.